one ever told me I had to have a job after you got married. I just thought you just got married and everything would work out. There was a few bumps in that road.
How many chairs were in the barbershop?
3 chairs. When I was the third chair. The third chair was added. The shop was enlarged to put a third chair in.
Okay.
It was a father and a son, which is Brian's great-grandfather and grandfather. And then they wanted to break in a younger guy, and that was me. So.
Now, of all the years you've been cutting hair in downtown Blairsville, anybody of note that we might recognize the name of?
No, and I was asked that question before. I was asked that, and I really can't come up with anything that stands out.
Okay.
There's been people in and out. There's been a few, but no, I can't give you an answer.
How about Coach Tutoki?
Yes, oh yes.
Well, there you go.
Well, everyone knows him, for God's sake. If you don't know Tutoki, you're not in Blairsville.
Well, there's your notable head right there. Now, is the barbershop still in operation today?
No, I just recently had a knee operation. I intended to go back originally. That was my goal, but as it's working out, the recovery has been a little longer. And I didn't realize how tough it was to do barbering, and like anything else, until you can't do it, then you find out it's a little tougher.
So that's where we bring Brian into the picture.
Yes.
So, Brian, you have plans for the barbershop beside the tracks in Blairsville, right?
Yep. Yeah, eventually, I'm on any rush to do it right now, probably next summer. Hopefully by the end of the summer, start doing some stuff in there, but an ice cream shop is my plan. So.
Okay, so you're going to take the chairs out?
Yes, they are already spoken for, but everything stayed intact because we had a couple articles. Newspaper was in yesterday, and wanted to take pictures of a 1950s barbershop. Mm-hmm. Barbers are always unique stories. They hit the paper quite a bit. Old barbers leaving, and no barbers coming in.
Well, that was my next question. Do you find there are folks stepping up and taking up that profession?
No, I really don't. When I came to Blairsville, there was 6 barbershops and a total of 13 barbers. But back in 1959. But what people don't understand, it was illegal for a beautician to cut a man's hair. So
really?
There was, oh yeah, really, and it was a very serious offense if you got doing that, like you lose your license.
Now, could a barber cut a woman's hair?
Oh yeah, barber can do that. Even today, a beautician cannot use a straight razor, where barbers are the only ones allowed to do that.
Okay. Another question for you: have you cut many women's hair?
No, I never was real itchy. I don't even cut my wife's hair. I never please her anyhow, so why even try?
Brian, did you ever think about becoming a barber and taking over when Bob says, that's enough?
No. I'm actually in a restaurant business now, so...
Which is, you don't want to find hair in your food, right?
No, definitely not.
Well, Bob, with the location of the barbershop right beside the tracks in Blairsville, did the trains ever cause a problem?
No, I have a track goes underneath.
That's right, it does.
Yeah, it does go underneath, and no, they fixed the tracks. One time it was like a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit, but the railroad has improved the tracks, as you can see them moving through now. And then the track was always alongside the barbershop, but that just came up this way. That was as a side track.
Our guest this morning on Indiana in the Morning, Bob Tutoki and Brian Nastase. Bob has just wrapped up a career that spanned about 70 years as the barber in Blairsville. Was there any thought of ever moving the location of the barbershop?
Oh, no. I was just to correct you, I was in there 59 years.
59 years,
yeah,
okay.
The shop has been there in a neighborhood of 70. Okay. It was there before I came in, so I don't have exact, because you never know you're staying. You're just uncertain of what your future is going to be and where you're going to end up.
Mm-hmm. Now, over those 59 years, I imagine you've heard some pretty good stories, or you've told some pretty good stories while you've been cutting hair, right?
Keep one thing in mind. Beer and haircuts are all the same. It's just the guy giving them to you. Mm-hmm. And if you like them, you'll be back. And if you don't, you won't come in. So that eliminates a lot of bad feelings. Did you have a go-to story that you like to tell a lot? One of your favorites? Well, there's just a lot of stories. They just come up, and that's what I miss about the barbering trade. It's just you're just always a story. There's always a story coming from them and given by me.
Of course, a big time in a young man's life is his first haircut. And I'm sure that you had quite a few youngsters
yes.
come through your door. Any story in particular stand out from all those little
Well, I
little
always
haircuts
said
you
if
gave?
somebody was watching us in the window, they would probably just arrest us because you have a little 1-year-old or a 2-year-old, and you have grandpap there and grandma and mom and everybody's holding. It's a challenge sometimes, but a lot of times it's not as bad as you think.
Did you have some tricks that you used to help keep the youngsters sitting still
Well,
for you?
lollipops, that was your last thing because the lollipop had a sticking of the hair in the face, but sometimes just to get something in their mouth kept them occupied enough so I could get done with it.
Okay. 59 years of cutting hair in Blairsville. I'm sure the styles have changed. When you first started, what was the kind of haircut that the guys wanted?
Well, crew cuts and flat tops were big. It was after the war, you had a lot of that.
Right.
We went pretty well. Barber trade was good, and then the Beatles hit town.
Right.
And
But they never came to Blairsville for a haircut,
no,
did they?
didn't have any Beatles in there. That would have been A-okay, but that put the hurt on the bar. A lot of barbers left, and a lot of them took part-time jobs because it did affect the income.
Okay, and then I've noticed recently that a lot of short-haired haircuts are coming back in style, right?
A lot of high and tight now. They're going up the side of the head like they did in a after the war type of thing. It's just a real popular style now.
Mm-hmm. So what are your plans? If you're not going to cut hair anymore, what do you think you're going to be doing?
Well, I've always worked, and it is. I miss it. I miss it a lot. My big challenge is to find out if my wife really likes me or not, because I was never around enough. She could dislike me and still live with me because I was always working. Barbers put a lot of hours in. I did work in the steel mill for approximately 20 years with 2 jobs, so I was a busy boy.
Well, with all the folks that listen to this program every day, maybe there's somebody out there that would like to learn how to cut hair. Are you available for that, to be a teacher?
I get a couple requests. I got a couple from my wife's beautician. He wants me in the worst world to teach him how to cut a flat top.
Okay.
And if he would be able to do that, he would get a lot of business because I haven't met a beautician yet that can handle it. Okay, I'm not saying they can't. I haven't seen it yet, so it's a little tougher.
Well, there are a lot of women nowadays who are giving men's haircuts.
Oh yeah, a lot
Right?
of people. Yeah, but not flat tops.
Okay.
I mean, that's a little different.
Of course, you have to have the right kind of hair for that.
Oh yeah, you have to have hair. Period.
That's my point.
You and I wouldn't
you're
qualify,
right, you're right.
so we'd be.
How about guys who would come in and would want a completely shaved head?
Did quite a few of those. Yes, yes, I did. And razoring the head is something that they're not going to get anywhere else except a barber. And a lot of barbers have given that up too, because you get a little older and it requires a lot more skill.
Yeah,
you know?
that's a little tricky, isn't it? Yeah. Bob and Brian with us this morning. Brian, ice cream shop in the future of the former Barbershop in Blairsville. You're shooting for next summer as a possible opening for that?
Yes. Yep.
Right?
Yeah, next summer, hopefully, everything will go smooth and I can open up by then.
How many folks are going to be helping you out? Is it just going to be a one-man show?
I have staff now, so I should have people that will come down there and work at that store also.
Okay. What gave you the incentive to open up an ice cream shop?
Well, actually, my great-grandpap and grandpap, when Bob worked with them, had a little ice cream shop there. It was called Ice Cream Crossing.
Before it was the Barbershop?
No, there was
Together?
there was a small building alongside the shop that used to be the gatehouse. It was manned 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just when the train would go across, they would put the gate down.
Okay.
And so when they did away with that and put the automatic gates in, it was small enough that his grandfather decided to put a little soft ice cream shop in there. It's right next to the barbershop, though.
Right. Okay.
That's what's so interesting about the whole story is that it's kind of like a full circle.
Right.
You know, so my grandpap had it, the barber shop and the ice cream place. And then Bob took over, and now Bob's retiring, so I'm kind of like going back, keeping it back in the family, you know what I mean? So
it's going to be a walk-in establishment where folks...
I'm not 100% sure yet.
Okay.
I'd like to have maybe a couple chairs inside, Whether they let me do that or not, I got to see what all the red tape is I have to go through and everything. But
Maybe a walk-up window,
yes, definitely probably a walk-up.
but not a drive-up window.
No,
Right. Because there's not a lot of room there.
No, there's a little parking along the side there that happens to be right above the railroad tracks, which they would never have a building over that. The railroad would never permit that.
Right. Now, Bob, you've seen Blairsville change in the time that you've been there. Anything that you missed that's not there now that used to be part of Blairsville?
Well, it was just so much activity. There was as many bars in Blairsville as there was barbershops. I always said you come in and get a haircut or get drunk, and sometime you got both, you know. Because I had bars on both sides of me and bars across the street from me. They're all gone now. The buildings are gone, you know. It's just sort of sad.
Used to be some great stores in Blairsville. The G.C. Murphy store was down there. There were clothing stores.
Yes,
right?
Yes, absolutely.
Some of the names that used to
Brown's
be there?
Boot Shop, and you had, just lady shops in there, just for ladies' apparel, and you had 200 or 300 people work across the street in the railroad, and so that brought a lot of activity. So a lot of activity for the bars at quitting time, that's for sure.
Did the railroad have their own building or a place where the folks were mostly occupied?
They'd bring the work train in, park behind what was the S&T Bank there. That was a railroad building. That was a station at one time. That's what originally made for that. But when they brought the work train in, you had a lot of guys that quitting time, there wasn't anything to do. They wasn't even home, so they floated around town a good bit.
Mm-hmm. And, of course, there were furniture stores, grocery stores.
Absolutely, yes.
In downtown Blairsville. And you always had the kids coming through after school, right? Because the high school used to be a couple streets off of Main Street.
That's right.
Right? And so the folks were there. And, Brian, I'm sure that you're looking forward to the new adventure that will be taking place. Is it going to be soft serve ice cream or the harder type?
I'm looking more towards soft serve.
Okay.
I think that's the way to go now. And I'm just looking forward to it. It's going to be definitely an experience.
Mm-hmm. Have you had some encouragement from folks saying, you need to do this?
Yeah, I have actually, everybody's been positive about it, saying it's going to be a good idea. So I think once we get going, I think it'll work out pretty good. Well,
I think you're going to have a good clientele come through there in the Blairsville area. Bob, do you get to many football games? Have you seen many Blairsville High School football games?
No, I do not, really. Okay. I do not, but I know you're involved. Okay?
That's what they tell me every Friday night.
Yeah, you just go there to get the pizza, right?
When it's delivered. That's right. How about maybe some good friends of yours that are no longer around the Blairsville area? I'm sure there's folks that you don't get to see much.
That's the saddest thing. Yes. I put a sign in the window about thank you for the great 59 years and memories and so forth, and I hope when we meet on the other side, you'll need a haircut.
Okay.
That's pretty much it.
You going to be hanging around the ice cream shop at all?
I might stop in. Maybe I'll get a free cone, maybe.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know. I should have asked you to bring down some photographs because I'm sure you have lots of pictures from the Blairsville history area. That would have been interesting as well.
Yeah. Also, that's been pretty awesome too. Is just like me and Bob working together doing this, is I get to see like a lot of the history that I didn't know about the barbershop, and like my great grandpap and grandpap. Bob tells me a lot of stories throughout the process we've been going through. So it's pretty interesting on his part and what he's seen and what he's went through.
Do you have some photos of that original setup where it was the ice cream shop?
Yeah, some awesome pictures actually. When he first started and stuff that I got to see, and so.
Well, what you need to do is have those enlarged and then maybe display those somewhere when the ice cream shop opens.
I think that might be a great plan. Yeah,
and then Bob can sit there and he can tell all the stories and let folks know what's happening. If you were not a barber, was there anything that you would have wanted to do? If you weren't a barber?
That wasn't a choice. When my dad said you're going to be a barber, that was the end of the conversation, and he didn't care if I did it for a lifelong adventure, but he wanted me to learn the trade. He felt that you had to do something.
He never wanted to be a singer or a baseball player?
No. Barry Como's the only one I know.
Well, there you go.
See?
Yeah, from Cannonsburg.
Yeah, he was the richest barber I know.
Uh-huh.
But other than that, you never got rich, but you never was poor. I mean,
Right.
you never was broke. You know, so you always can pick up a buck.
And you always had a lot of folks to talk to.
Oh, wonderful
Right.
people, and I'll miss them a lot. And I think some of them miss me. Hopefully.
I'm sure that they do. Brian and Bob, we thank you so much for stopping by. You're going to have to come back, Brian, maybe in a year or so, and give us an update. Let us know how things are going down there.
Yeah,
Okay?
for sure, definitely.
Okay. Hey, we thank you so
Thank you.
much for joining us this morning here on Indiana in the Morning. We thank everybody who's been listening to the program today. And yes, I will be back again tomorrow.